It is 7 o'clock. We're going to call the meeting to order. John Alexander, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a recording secretary today, Mike?
We do not, I'm it.
Okay, sorry.
I gotta take.
We'll try to make sure you can keep up.
Yeah.
So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Approval of the minutes for September 23rd.
How about the
Just you're aware,
9th?
there's ones in there for the 9th too.
Okay. Let's do the 9th first.
And the 4th.
Do we have some for the 4th too, Mark?
I
this
handed something out because I had a question. I can come to that at the end if you don't mind.
Okay.
Of how you want that done.
All right, well, let's do the 9th first. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of September 9th.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
You go first, Mary Lee. I've got a couple, but you may have them too.
Okay. Present. We've got a Robert Steele and a Rob Steele.
Who's here? Okay.
If you go down to approval of minutes of August 26, you just said Steele made it, not whatever.
Yep.
You didn't give me much time to go over these this time. On page 4. So you're talking 1, 2, 3, fourth one down. Fourth line, you said that 2024 was originally ordered by when it arrived. I think it should say buck instead of by. And that's all I got on that one.
Mark, anything?
I have nothing.
Rob?
Good.
The only other thing I found is on page 3 in the middle, the item still for ARPA consideration list includes, and when you get to number 5, I don't recall what it was, but it says $10,000 to, period. So
10,000 to Dewey Field.
it could have been, I really honestly don't recall. So you may have to go back to the recording, Mike. You see where I'm saying that?
Yeah.
The 1, 2, third paragraph down, last line?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, well, I may have to go back to the, that's all I got, that Mary Lee didn't already cover. So, hearing nothing else, all in favor?
Aye.
September 23rd, is that next? Yes, September 23rd is next. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of September 23rd.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We got both Robert Steele and Bob Steele both here. On page 3, down below recreation, we marked down, okay, let's see where the sentence starts. Adventure camp and what the plan is going forward to correct the deficiencies. Mark Brown also stated the select board is relying on John Alexander. I think 2 should be put in there, to be the lead on. I just think a 2 should be inserted there. Oh. On the very last page, page 6. It says, who tried out the guys that they have been doing what?
I'm sorry, Mary Lee, where were we at?
Page 6, very top sentence. Is about the
Coin drops.
coin drops. And it
Whole
says
bunch of
they
them.
have been
I think that-
doing,
Chief Goyette probably advised us that
I
he's
don't know.
been doing 2 locations for years.
that's what I'm saying.
And
How long?
They're
for
both
how-
within the village limits, so.
Yeah. They just seem to be dropped off. Other than that, I'm fine.
We should insert the words 2 locations for years. Anything else from the other members?
I only
I'm
had
good.
one. On page 2. On the 9th line down, it says Dion stated that during phase 1. I think that should have said Devon stated.
Got it.
And that's all I had.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. October 7th.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of October 7th.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes. The next line, next to the last line on page 1, he further stated it isn't the state wants to take. I think it should be, he further stated that it isn't what the state wants to take over. It isn't that the state wants to take over the land.
Correct.
I'm stuttering. And the other was the Dr. Fest, because I wasn't sure that was right.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
I believe that's what they're calling it, isn't it?
Yes, that's what it was called on there.
That's the only thing I have on that.
Anything else for October 7th? All in favor?
Aye.
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 So do we want to discuss September 4th at this point, or do you want to do it later, Mike?
If the board's prepared to it, I'd rather just knock it out of the way and get it fixed and posted.
Can you give us a minute to read it?
Is that the, special meeting?
Yes. Why don't we just do that one next meeting, and then you'll have time to prepare.
Okay.
I'll have a draft that was in our mailbox today. I don't know when it got put in there, but it was,
Last night at about 4 in the morning.
I was checking my list for leaks at 4 AM. All right, so we're gonna move on to citizens' comments, items that are not on the agenda. Do we have anyone on Zoom with a hand up, or anyone in the audience?
I don't need drogies on Zoom.
So seeing none, I'm going to move on. Recreation update? What's your name, John?
John Alexander, recreation update. You guys all received my letter. Hopefully you've had a chance to review it. Thought I would start off with questions in regards to the update. We addressed the big picture in terms of the 5-year programs, which we are working on, and it looks like we're going to meet that mandate from the board with the helps of Friends of Recreation. I think probably the most promising of the programs is the Cornhole League on Thursday nights. I think that offers. I'm not a cornhole player, wasn't aware that it was such a big to-do, but I guess it is. And It goes on in a lot of area rec programs. I guess Brandon is a very big cornhole, and they have a very active league. And there's a lot of local guys that do it at a very competitive league, and they are not afraid to throw their money into the pot for the help of the recreation centers where they play. So they play on a semi-competitive basis. Ours is an open league to be able to start the ball running. A local guy, Chris Kaludi, Castleton resident, he's pretty active in that league, has his own boards, his own bags, and has played at a fairly competitive league. He's kind of the, we'll call him the ambassador to be able to get the ball rolling along with Mary and Bob McIntyre. And it has a lot of promise. You know, like I said, right now we're starting kind of at the non-competitive level to be able to bring in as many people as we can, and with the possibility of maybe developing it into a teams type orientation. You know, that is where I guess it gets really competitive. And since this has been introduced, I've watched a few videos on championships, world championships for cornhole. So it's more than just a backyard party game. The gym is ideally situated for it, so that's off to a good start. Early childhood hour, we've had a couple of signups right now. I'm told that there are people aware of it and that possibly they'll stop in and pay at the door, which we'll be prepared for, but the response to it hasn't been too strong. The professor from the college has been in cleaning and setting up her classroom at the school, so in my talks with her and Mary Drogi, who was instrumental in getting that off the ground, she seems like she's in it for the long haul. You know, if it takes time to be able to bring in the students, it's really advertising to that group. So they're not in school yet. One of the ideas I had was to be able to widen the packets that go home with K through 6 school programs, Portland, Fairhaven, not just Castleton, to be able to try to get to the parents with kids that are school aged and K through pre-K kids. So, Chris Immel with the Garden Club, and that's getting off the ground. He's been very busy getting the classroom set up, and he's very excited about that, the possibility of that getting off the ground. Horticulture, I should go, as he would like to refer to it. It's more than just Garden Club. So, all in all, the friends have been very helpful with the introduction of ongoing programs, as well as some other one-time programs like continuing our paint and sip and a bicycle repair clinic. So the ideas are wide and ranging, and I think that it should be an interesting winter getting those programs off the ground. So today I spent the morning traveling down to Massachusetts to buy a used painter for the fields. One of the issues that came up with the soccer program was the lack of painted fields. We didn't have any games scheduled for Dewey Field, but it would have been helpful to have actual painted fields out down at Dewey. And it's a much better surface. I kind of alluded to it in my letter about some of the conflicts with field time, because we did a dual program with Fairhaven. The Fairhaven field behind the grade school is also used by an area youth football program. And I guess, there has been some conflict with the folks showing up for practice and, you know, lack of scheduling or what have you. So having that space fully utilized, accessible down at Dewey going forward is going to be a big part of the summer soccer program. As well, I wasn't aware of this, I've alluded to it before, I wasn't aware that there were so many different size soccer goals associated with youth soccer. Every age group that you go to, like under 8, they have a certain size soccer goal that they use. Under 10, which is one of the leagues that we're in, has a certain soccer goal size that we use. I fixed up the soccer goals this fall and had a local business weld them up. But it turns out one of them is a regulation size soccer goal, which I was fully aware of. And then the other one is a U12, and we don't have a U12 team. Those goals are in really nice shape. So, you know, in explaining it to the coach, Coach Mason at the Recreation Commission meeting, I just told him we didn't have the budget to be able to afford to buy 2 new U10 soccer goals, you know, without planning. And that'll be part of the plan for next year, because each individual soccer goal is like $700. That's about the best price that I've been able to find so far. So I really wasn't prepared to put that out there. And as well, since I got the, put my letter together, I got one of the first bids back on the roof for the bathroom structure down at Dewey, and it came in significantly more than what I was anticipating. So I'm kind of going back to the drawing board on that. I've asked for, followed up with some other folks that I talked to about the roof, and hopefully it was just a bad measurement or something to that effect, because it was roughly double what I expected. So I am working on that. I really want to get that roof in place before the winter. So we're getting right down there to the bare minimum. So other than that, all copacetic.
John, have you sent your program schedules to Roy's paper?
No, I haven't shared them with Roy's paper yet.
That's a lot of people read that in the area, and it's free. Roy really likes to be involved. And does Rec have a Facebook page?
We do.
And you-
Well, it's a Rec Commission Facebook page still.
And are all those programs advertised on there?
Yes, presently. And
Good. Maybe in Roy's paper you could advertise that Rec Facebook page so people got used to checking it out to see what's available.
You know, I think that really needs to become a discussion, because when I started, I had discussions with Roy, and there was monies involved with advertising in Roy's paper. And he talked about page size and stuff like that. So I need to clarify that with him. And if that's the case, we really need to add that to our budget.
I'll ask him what he'd be willing to do for a public service announcement.
Yeah. I mean, that was the nature of my discussion when I entered into it with him, was, you know, thinking that it was and it may have been miscommunication between him and I, not being familiar with me. But
And then the Rutland Herald also has that community calendar.
yeah. Certainly would be useful to be able to get into that, just make that a regular advertising for rec. I'll definitely look into that, follow up with Roy, and the Rutland Herald. But anything else?
I think since our last meeting, there's been a lot of strides made in the right direction, programming at the school. Thank you. And Mary's on. Mary, thank you. I know you put a lot of effort into this, and so has Andy V, and we really appreciate that. I mean, this is what it's going to take to keep that school a rec center. It's going to have to be programming every day of the week.
Yeah.
You know, it's an expensive facility, and if we get a lot of people involved in it, the town's going to be all in favor of it. If it's used one day a week, Zero chance. And I know that at that last meeting, I told you if you accomplish that, I would certainly vote in favor of taking it off the market. I know we didn't, as a select board, discuss that any further, but it looks like you guys are really on your way towards that. So, nice work.
I was happy with the effort as well.
Appreciate the Friends of Rec. I mean, it's a fairly new organization, but, you know, it's really paying dividends so far.
We got to start somewhere,
Going
so.
forward, yeah, I'm excited about the turkey trot. I think that's gonna be a lot of energy coming through that, so.
I think come town meeting day, if you can stand up and list off the last 15 things that you did, it's gonna really, really change the public opinion of having a rec center. I think people will be really excited about it.
I hope so.
They have to know.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
They have to know.
They have to know. People have to see, wow, this is a good investment for the community. My kids, my friends, my neighbors, my parents, my grandparents, there's programming to keep people in the community active and to get together and socialize.
But there are a lot of people that are no at this point that aren't interested in listening to what's going on too. They've just got that tunnel vision no. So
Right. So we
gotta
need to
We
find
gotta change it. We gotta,
programs that they'll want to enjoy.
we'll show at least what we're doing.
Right.
Public awareness is going to be a big part of this. I don't know if there's anything we can do on the town website as well, but there's a lot of people that are not all that active on social media or on a computer, so we need, you know, your point about the papers is very appropriate. I don't know if there's any local radio stations that do anything like that, and I don't even, to be honest, I don't listen to local radio anymore.
Most people don't anymore.
Nobody listens to radio anymore.
It's weird. It's weird. Advertising is weird right now. I mean, we use, just throw Chris under the bus a little bit, Chris Galudi. He, in our discussions about cornhole, says, you know what is really big as well right now is pickleball. And he wasn't aware that we had pickleball at the recreation center. So why I bring that up is because it's that demographic that he represents. That how do we reach those people? Because I'm told, because I'm not a Facebook guy either, you know, I have a page because my kids set it up, but I'm learning. And so I think that there's an age group where they just don't use Facebook that much to get their news or information, but they've got to be using something.
I think it would be well worth your while too to set an appointment to stop and visit with Mrs. Riley at the community center.
Yeah.
You know, she really has her finger on the pulse of people my age and older. And, I mean, she really does. She works with that group every day. And to sit down with her and say, hey, can you help us to advertise some of this? And are there programs that age group would like to utilize? You know,
I
they're,
think that's where the Tai Chi with Ted Day kind of, you know, he's teaching there and it's kind of an offshoot of that. So we are looking to make more in-grounds with that, you know, to be able to extend their programs that they want, space-wise, and work more closely with them as well.
and a lot of older folks don't drive at night. You know, so you may want to look at some afternoon programs, you know, whether they were quilting or sewing or, you know, that gardening program. That's great. I'll bet a lot of people would be interested in that. Pam Morell on the library board, she's a UVM master gardener.
Really?
Now, here's something off the wall. At the Legion on Monday afternoons, we play cribbage. It started out with 4 of us. It's 20 now.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
And all it is was someone bringing someone else in.
That's a great
People
idea.
looking for socialization.
Yep. I used to play cribbage with my grandfather all the time.
Every Monday afternoon, 1
Yeah.
o'clock, 1 to 4.
I heard the other day cards, this was, I won't use their name, but a man and woman said, you can't go play cards anymore unless you go to like a Texas Hold'em tournament, but like to play 45 or, you know, those type of
That's
things.
a great idea.
Is, you know, it's, my generation older are used to playing cards. not Cards Against Humanity, but, like cards, real cards. And that's something. And the other thing is, the senior center does a newsletter. And I had a discussion with departments, it was probably last summer, I'll have that long ago, about putting out a newsletter for us, the town, of what departments are doing to get the word out there. Maybe we can include something from rec, get this thing started, and get that out there, because we get a copy of the senior center's one, and it's full, it's loaded with stuff.
Full.
So, either adding stuff that they'll let us add to theirs, or getting something that's standalone that allows the residents of the town to see what each department's doing, but there's a place to put your programming and stuff in there.
Well, the other part of some of the expertise that Andy Vermillion brings from Friends of Rec, he's the president of Friends of Rec, professor at the college. It's something that I wasn't aware of is the email subscriber list. He says that is a real key for updating all your programming matters. So whoever comes to the website, Facebook page, you've seen them on pages you visited, subscribe here. And so, a month down the road, they're a subscriber, sends a blast out to their email, you add a program, and it automatically generates a new email update to that program. So that's something Andy and I are working on getting up, and it's going to be one of the first items that my learners from the college, they're not interns, but they're service learners, 3 service learners from Castleton State College. That'll be one of the first things that they'll develop is that.
That'd be really powerful.
And our webpage you can subscribe, and that's how a lot of folks get like the agendas and things put out. So if you copy whatever you put on Facebook to the town webpage, which I can sit down and go through the training process with that, it's cut and paste, and then you hit the e-subscriber, and they'll get whoever subscribes will get your updated programming.
Yeah, well, it should definitely help, and it's not something that I'm familiar with, but it doesn't sound that complicated, so,
Well, you have a lot of support people, so I'm sure you guys can get it done.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good,
Thank
nice
you,
work,
John.
John.
Good
I
effort.
have a statement or a question, if that's allowed.
Go ahead.
So just an idea that I thought of while we were having this conversation. I was wondering if it came from the select board, if Roy would be willing to give Castleton Parks and Rec its own dedicated corner of the newspaper, like, what's happening in Castleton Rec for a certain period of time, maybe 6 months, just as like a community commitment to the community, as opposed to making us pay for anything. Like, I know Lakes Region Free Press often does that for the libraries. There's like a library corner, where it's updating what's happening at the libraries. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So that's one idea. And the other thing I just wanted to add is that one other thing really great that happened this last weekend in the rec center was Pride's Young Artists, which is a local community theater, held their auditions for The Little Mermaid. They had, I think, Sarah told me, 31 people audition, all in the village, in the rec center. And they're going to be holding practices there as well. The final show is January 17th and 18th, will be held at the college. But she is so excited about building community theater in the facility. She went there, she's from Castleton, she's just really, really excited about it. So that was another great thing that happened.
Who's doing that program, Mary?
Sarah?
Her name is Sarah McGee. She's grew up on Frisbee Hill Road. She's a Rampone, and the group is called Pride's Young Artists, and she's very experienced. She's she knows how to put on a production, and she
Excellent.
has a whole team that works with her. It's very exciting.
So we're planning on doing some modifications to the stage area and stuff like that, to be able to, so they call it their home. You know, they do the production up at the college, like she said, and I think she said they've used the Paramount before, but they don't have a place to call home. So eventually, maybe having productions on the stage at the school. But now, they converted the stage to a classroom, and those big, heavy classroom walls essentially across the front, they don't move. So it was a summer project to be able to have my summer help me take them apart and look for some curtains, but we just didn't get to it. But it is something that I want to convert that and then reach out to the drama program at the high school, and because I know they had lights and sound systems and stuff like that that were in storage at one time. So just trying to make that into something that if drama wanted to use that for productions and whatnot, it could be a good set.
Go ahead, Mary.
I spoke with Sarah on Saturday, or Friday, one of the days I was down there doing the collections. She was smiling from ear to ear because she was really happy to have that spot, and so she said it's open auditions. So, and I said I'll bring that back to the select board, because if you want to go down and audition to be in the Little Mermaid, you can. Open auditions.
You and I should go.
Okay, I'll go with you.
Okay.
I will.
I'll go watch. I'll take pictures.
And John, one last thing. I have a good friend who's been the director of rec in Brattleboro for 35 years. Did I send you her
Yes.
contact?
Yes.
She's a Christian from Orwell. You must have known some of them.
Oh, yeah.
She's super nice. Lola is her married name, but she's been there a long time. And I spoke to her and said I was going to give her name and number to you.
Yeah.
I think she could be a really good resource. Probably whatever we're doing, she's experienced it in the last 30 years.
Yeah, I intend on reaching out to her, and been talking with the folks up in Killington because they're going through a similar kind of position as we are, similar type. They're looking to build a recreation center. They have a good-sized recreation department. And in terms of staffing and some of the ideas we've had on converting maintenance staff, you know, moving things around and stuff like that. So, yeah, definitely reaching out to other area rec departments. That came through Devon at Rutland Regional Planning Commission. To be able to reach out to her, so. For sure. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Mary.
Okay, we're going to talk about plow blades, Mike.
All right, that's my favorite subject.
Highway foreman is not with us, so I'd say it's up, what is your recommendation?
So this is a downsize from the original request. So, of course, I support it because it's not like we're stockpiling these things. We've got some extras. So this was some particular stuff, and I have no problems going with his recommendation for the, get 2 sets of the saber blades from Built Blades for the single tandem wing plows. I'm curious to see if they truly last the 3 to 5 years that they're touting. So as we put those on and keep track of it, I'll have the mechanic keep track of what they look like year to year, because if they're saying 3 to 5 years and at the end of the first year they're no better than the rest of them, then we have a right to jump up and down someone's desk.
Because I noticed that was the more expensive quote, but
It is.
that's, the thought being last longer will actually cost less in the long
In the
run.
long run. And it's a leap of faith because I don't know anything about them, and neither does Jeff, besides what the company's touting, so. We'll just
Does anybody in the highway crew have any experience?
not this stuff, not these. this is something new for us.
So you're recommending we take a chance and, we'll know a lot more in a year?
Yeah, I think it's, if they do last 3 to 5 years, it's worth taking the risk right now, and we're not killing the budget by doing this. We're not using as much as we budgeted anyway.
Which ones are supposed to last 3 to 5?
These Evolution, they're built blades. Yeah, that one right there.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're significantly more expensive, but if you read the front page, the email from Jeff is that, it says Saber blades have set the industry standard for quality and longevity with blades lasting 3 to 5 years.
What were we using before?
We were all over the map. We bought whatever was the cheapest ones, and
How long do we usually get out of
a
them?
year, if a year. Sometimes they're changing them before the end of the season. So
Are these American made? Do you know?
I don't, Mark, I'm sorry.
A lot of that foreign steel is just super low quality.
Yeah, the stuff that we were buying, I know that I've been up at the garage and they're changing blades out during plow season because they're beyond their useful life.
Okay, you're all over my head. This had 2, 4, 6, 8, 12 items. This one has 4, 8, 10 items. We're not, doesn't
Two
look like we're
sets.
comparing apples with apples. Each quote has a different number of,
I was gonna ask that question as well.
Yeah.
so do we need all of them, or do we need some of them, or?
Well, I think that what did it say on the thing? The built blades one they come as a kit.
That is the kit. That's all components for one set of wing blades. So you got the 36, then the 48s, and then the wear plates and the cast shoes, the wing shoes.
You got 36 here twice. One says mitered right and the other just says 36 inch. And then 48 inch.
Well, he wanted to get 2 sets, so you would need 2 of each. Right?
If you ask me how you put them on there, how they line up, might as well give a monkey a football. Because I'm not sure how they all play out.
And obviously, they don't give any kind of warranty on them, but is there anything that we can do if they do last less than? Probably not.
I mean, be a squeaky wheel, I guess, like anything that anybody would buy is if they tout something that's got they don't say a 3 to 5 year warranty.
Yeah.
It just says they last they're lasting 3 to 5 years. If we get 3 years out of one set of these at $44,000 versus buying the cheap ones at $2,000 or $1,700.
I think the cheapest ones are 2662.93.
And that may not include all the pieces parts that is included in the Saber Blades one.
That's what confused me because they were all different numbers.
Well, sometimes I don't know much about the blades, the plows, I mean. So how manufacturers sell things, whether the kit comes with it to be able to install it, the bolts and all that kind of stuff, I'm not sure. At this point, I rely on Jeff to do the homework and make his recommendations of what best fits for their operation. If it makes sense, I typically support it, but when he came to me originally, he wanted to buy more of those, and we got into a deeper discussion about, do we really need those? And it come down to these blades, and this will get them through for this year, and try these out to see if they truly last 3 to 5 years.
We have carbides for the plows, it's just for these 2 wing blades that we need carbides for?
Yeah, it's for the, which one was for the single axle? It says blades for the single/tandem wing plows. So it's not for the front ones, it's just for the wings.
Side blades.
I looked at the different quotes, and assuming they're all for, and that's a bad word, I know, but assuming they're all for the 2 wing plows that they're talking about putting new carbides on, our real risk is around $1,000. So that's $500 per plow. Does that sound about right?
Yeah,
About
1,000 for 2
Well-
sets, yeah.
1,300 difference from the cheapest to the most expensive.
So that's a pretty low, so that's $1,300 for 2 blades, so
Yeah.
that's, you know, if we really do get 2 years or more out of a set of blades, that will cost less in the long run. Plus, you're also saving the labor for changing out the plates. Because that, if I recall rightly, talking to Mike and Heath a few years ago, it's not a quick process. It takes several hours to do. So
And
I think it's worth the risk.
It's truly just a leap of faith to switch to something that we're not used to using and see if it works. And if we lose $1,000 and learn a lesson out of it, we wouldn't know otherwise, because I'm not sure if anybody else uses these. I don't know. Jeff usually is pretty good about doing his homework, because he works closely with Pulteney and Hubbardton and Fairhaven. So I would assume, and I'll make that assumption, and I'll assume that risk, that he did his homework on this stuff.
Well, I know the carbide knives that I use are not all, different vendors are not created equal. And,
That Chinese steel just doesn't last. They make a product that looks the same, but doesn't last. These are made in Corning and Elmira, or Elmira and Oswego. I'm just looking that up.
Ones that he recommended.
Mm-hmm.
Are they assembled there, but you don't know if the steel is actually made in the US?
well, I know the carbides I use either come from Germany or Ohio. And, I
Says
made
it's
the
US
mistake of
steel.
buying some from Asia before and was not impressed.
You said it's US steel?
Let's take a chance
So
on
I
it
pay
then.
twice as much for stuff that's made in Ohio. And it's cheaper in the long run, because it lasts 4 times longer than the stuff I get from Asia.
We played this game for so long, buying the cheapest bit, the low bidder, and then we end up regretting it later. And sometimes we learn our lesson, and sometimes we come back and pick another vendor, and it's no better than the vendor we picked before.
If they last 2 years, we're money ahead.
He has money.
Yeah, well, it's not, it's only $1,300 exposure, which is enough money to buy groceries for a month, but,
If they go 2 years, we're 2,500 ahead.
exactly, so I'm prepared to take the risk.
Yeah, I mean, if we're changing them out before the year's over, even if they went a year and we didn't have to change them out, then you're already ahead.
So, any more discussion? I'm prepared to listen to a motion.
I make a motion that we authorize Jeff Davidson to order the 2 sets of saber blades. Is there a quote number? No.
No, there is no quote
And the
number on
necessary
this.
hardware for $4,001.08.
It's on the quote dated September 18th, 2024. I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to a report on how they do in a year.
Yeah, well, I'll have the mechanic keep track of them.
Well, in the spring, let us know if we made a good call or not. If we made a good call, we'll do it again.
Hopefully not for 3 to 5 years.
So I've spent my,
If you make a good call, it's on the select board. If you make a bad call, it's on me.
well, it's been my experience that all carbide is not created equal.
Not even close.
And granted, my planer knives only cost $200, but still. Okay, moving on, sale of used police vehicle. I had nothing in my handout about that, Mike.
There isn't, this was like 10 o'clock last night. Justin sent me an email regarding the 2017, the one that had the timing chain issue. So now that they have the other vehicle in service, they kind of shopped it around to law enforcement, so we didn't have to worry about ripping stuff out of it and paying money to do that. The Pollitt constable is a certified law enforcement officer. I'm reading the email right now. His name is Thomas Cavino. The vehicle will be used for law enforcement purposes. He's certified. He'll be buying the vehicle privately, as the town of Pollitt does not purchase the constable's vehicle. The price agreed upon at the direction, the The price agreed upon at the direction of the town manager was $3,000. Vehicle comes with blue lights, cage, gun rack, siren, control box. All equipment that can be utilized by CPD has been removed already. The remaining equipment is specific to that vehicle and cannot be used in any other vehicle we currently have. Covino has been made aware of the existing issue with the timing chain engine, and he is not concerned about it. Police department is requesting the money from the sale of this vehicle be placed into the police department's capital reserve account.
That's where it's supposed to go.
How much money?
$3,000.
Seems fair enough.
I'm ready to listen to a
Perhaps
motion.
out a week from now.
Would you care to make a motion, Mr. Brown?
Car's completely worn out.
Yeah.
I would make a motion that we accept the offer from Constable Covino to purchase our 2017 Ford Explorer police car as is, where is, for $3,000.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That one, I had it on the road.
Okay, sidewalk update, Mike.
In your packet, I did put a couple documents from Brian Birch from Fuss and O'Neill. So, in my report, and I apologize, I didn't have time last night to finish that damn thing. But, so the sidewalk project for Parsons Hills is considered substantially complete at this point. There are some punch list items that had to be taken care of. There was the silt fence along Route 4A that had to be removed, a porta potty that had to be removed, and then the more important things were along the sidewalk, there were areas that the topsoil was pretty thin enough to look like gravel. And that was brought up during the final walkthrough. So that will get addressed in the spring, and it still falls under their warranty, that 1-year warranty. So if the grass dies or there's a washout or something like that, we have a 1-year warranty on it anyway.
Is the warranty from the engineer or the contractor?
From the contractor, from Champlain Construction, for the record. So
It'll be
that
1 year after they fix it in spring.
it's 1 year from substantial completion. So but right now we identified the problem, but because it's so late in the season, planting grass right now is not in the cards probably. So it's 1 year starts from substantial completion, or we sign off. So in V-Trans, as of today, V-Trans, they weren't there when we did the walkthrough, but they've looked at it since, and they have no issues with the work that was done, and we'll sign off on the right-of-way permit, or close it out. There are some issues, and I think, I won't speak for the chairman, because he was at the final walkthrough, but there was some work that was done where I could see that the residents could be upset about. And it was pretty much at the end of their driveways where it touches the road, that they didn't go all the way to the road or saw cut the road and butt into it. Kind of just stops, and then there's this area of no man's land, and then it kind of goes back to the pavement, of what's on Route 4A. But as we walk through they're defending their decisions. It's what V-Trans prescribed, and Mike Holden's one of the ones that has both at the end of the driveway where it reaches the road and back at the edge of the right-of-way where it hits his property. The way they terminated the pavement causes a little hump there, so he's upset about those. I told him I would contact V-Trans and express our displeasure at how they did the work, or how they authorized the work. But the contractor said if they were trying to fix it, because there was wheel ruts there, and one side was higher than the other, that no matter what they do, they were gonna cause one side would have been higher, so as he drove over it, the tire would go up.
How much higher is it?
I don't recall, probably, he said 8 inches, I think, or something like that, was he said, from one side to the other.
From one side of Mike's driveway to the other is 8 inches.
Yeah, of height difference. and it's once against a stone wall, so, and it was paved, it was formerly good paving, but it's currently alligator crack crumbling, so they couldn't saw, cut, and butt to it, because it was just gonna fall apart, and there's nothing to butt to. So, they would have created a slope on that one section, and all the water would have drained, the low spot, which is already there, which you can tell there's water been draining there in the past. So we're stuck at, what do I do, at this point? Because I don't think we're gonna fight and win this fight with how the ends of the driveways are, with the contractor at this point. V-Trans, I don't know.
Before they did it, was there still an 8-inch slope on the driveway?
From high side to low side, yes.
There's no difference than what there was prior to.
No, not the height from one side to the other. What they did is they ran the pavement back, and instead of try to taper it, because they couldn't taper it, because you have to walk the ground to kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about. To taper it, when it looks like this, or, like wavy, it was like a Rubik's Cube, or trying to figure out Rubik's Cube, I think. So they said, that's why it's got a lip about probably, I don't know, what do you think? Half inch, 3/4 of an inch, maybe?
That might be a good big inch. I'd have to go back and look at it again. I meant to go up there today when it was raining, and then got busy and never took the time.
Mike may come to the select board, so if you would like to go look at in person what I'm talking about, before I, throw a fit with V-Trans, on what they approved and how they're terminating these things. Because I did talk to Joanne Riley too, because the walkway that comes out of the front of the senior center, because before the sidewalks were put in, it gradually went down towards the road, but now it comes down to a flat spot where the sidewalk is. So you get the walkway comes out, and then it has to dip down in like the last 14 inches, 18 inches. It dips down a little bit to the sidewalk, and I saw Joanne Saturday, and I asked her if she was okay with that, and she said, well, I think it's gonna get slippery, like with the leaves on it and stuff like that. They don't use that door as an entrance, that's one good thing. But if somebody does walk on it, they're worried about somebody slipping. So she said that the contractors mentioned putting a step in there. She said, I wasn't real keen on that, but looking at the issue, might have to put a step in there.
That particular walkway is not ADA compliant anyways.
No, it's slate, the roots from the trees, I guess the person that put it in, according to, the contractor, that whoever put it in comes back every year and resets the slate, because the tree roots it's right on tree roots on one side, so it heaves it up a little bit.
But like you said, they don't use that door at all.
They don't, and it was funny, because the contractor got scolded by Joanne, because he said something about the door. She goes, we don't use that door, because there's a light right in the middle of the landing that shines up on the door, so obviously it's not
That door can't open.
the doors, the light.
Right, nobody's gonna use that walkway.
It isn't, but she was worried about somebody walking out of there and walking down that little thing and slipping on it. But it sounds like she's okay with having a step put in there, and that will solve the risk of somebody slipping. She does want to move her mailbox closer to the driveway and still pursue the crosswalk there, because I tried to get that incorporated into the project, and V-Trans was making it very difficult and basically said, we'll have to do it after now. So we'll pursue it to get it in there, because they're going to make it really difficult to transition from the pavement to the shoulder and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit more complicated than just saying, let's paint some lines on the road and make people, and put some signs up. So she's aware of it. I let Joanne know, and that we'll work with her, with V-Trans, to continue it or pursue it.
Mr. Holden did call me and express his concerns, and I have to say that he has some points to be considered. There's some merit to his complaints. So I am going to make a point of getting up there to take a look at it when it rains, which I neglected to do today. but I will do that, and perhaps some of you could do that as well.
See where it flows?
Yeah.
That's why you want to go in the rain?
When it's raining is when, it's kind of hard to tell where for sure the water goes if there's no water. But today would have been a great day, but I was busy and never got a chance.
It used to run further towards his house on the lawn where the bear carvings are, but now with the sidewalk there, it's not gonna make it there to that point, but it will make it between the sidewalk and the road. But it would naturally did that anyway, it just didn't have anything like the sidewalk to impede it, so it just kept going onto the low spot, which is his lawn. And V-Trans knows about it, he's contacted V-Trans. The water runs from the corner, in the wheel ruts from Castleton corners all the way down to his house and then dumps on his lawn. So because it's the state right-of-way, state road and the right-of-way, they're not gonna let us work in it, but they're not very sympathetic either.
They are not.
Nope.
Well, I recommend that the next time, sometime in the next near future, when it's raining, to take a ride up there and take a look at his driveway and how the water on the road runs and where the DIs are, and see if there's any merit to his concerns, and, because I think there may be. I think it's something we should at least look at.
Should be visible tomorrow with all the rain we've had.
If we don't say anything to V-Trans, then they just don't have, they don't have to address it. But if we raise it to their level, then they at least have to provide a response of why and what they might do, because, and if you go out and look at it, I also would ask you to look at the end of Patricia Lane, where it comes down. It's almost like it was opposite day when they put the stuff down that day. They paved way back from the road to the edge of to the backside of the right-of-way and along the edges of the sidewalk, but the rest of it's all crumbly along the edges where the radius. But they didn't do the whole thing. They left old. At least it's in decent shape, but it's old pavement. It's like they put patches like around. It looks like it's got the mange. And so I want to address that with them too.
Really
With
understand.
V-Trans or the contractor?
V-Trans, because that's what V-Trans, that was their prescription on what they could do there. But it was I don't even think it was a good Band-Aid.
You have to go look at it to really understand
It's
it.
crazy how
I'll
they.
look at it tomorrow.
I did the walkthrough with Mike, and I'm glad I did, because it gave me a lot of insight into what the thought processes were and what V-Trans said they could do and what the constraints the contractor was under.
To go back to the contractor, though, if there's topsoil that isn't adequate, why can't they do that this fall?
They could put topsoil down, but they're just worried about the seed not taken, and then they're gonna be back in the spring anyway. There's hay on top of it, but
Well, if they put topsoil and seed it now, isn't that seed fine in the spring?
I don't know, I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I'm not an expert, I don't know.
There is seed down there, Mark. It's just that the soil it looked like gravel. Brian Birch from Fuss and O'Neill got down on his hands and knees, was like, there's a lot of stones in this, and, so
I'm just thinking it might be easier to get them to repair it right now than 6 months from now.
yeah. They're under contract, and we talked, I think that Jim, the owner of the company, his word is, I would take his
We
word.
did commit to coming back in the spring and
Yeah.
addressing it.
Because they don't want a crappy product either, but workers, I mean, he's not on site all the time, and whatever his workers do, he said, yep, I agree with you, we'll get it fixed. He didn't argue with us that was a good product. I'd be surprised, they might go down there and put some down now, I don't know.
I would encourage all of you to go take a look at it when you get a chance. All right, so we're gonna move on to, South Street Sidewalk Project.
Okay, in front of you, you should have amendment number 1, sidewalk project at South Street with Fuss and O'Neill at the top of it. Does everybody have that?
Yes.
All right. So this project is the stretch of sidewalk that goes from the old the Science Center on South Street at the university to Main Street. So it's going from the university down the east side of South Street to the intersection of South and Main. If you,
Pavement there now?
it's paved now, it was asphalt, yep, correct. So the select board, we're going back into like 2010 to 2013, had included that stretch in a prior project. It was one of the stretches here,
What was the first one?
the one from Drake Road to
That was phase two, this is phase one, even though phase two got done first.
Correct. So it was included in a previous plan, but was dropped, what I was told was due to funding.
Exactly.
So when the town applied for the large-scale bike and ped grant for the sidewalks in the village, it left out that small stretch from the university to Main Street. And we were encouraged to apply for the small-scale bike and pedestrian grant, which is what the Parsons Hills one was, which is a 50% match, and it doesn't pay for engineering, but it also doesn't have to go through the full federal process, which usually costs a lot more when you get all the cross cutters in there, and some of the has a Buy American products, Made in America, Made in America, Buy in America, or whatever.
I like that.
So this contract represents where Fuss and O'Neill picks up the football that was dropped way back when, and I think it was Dufresne Group, it's probably in there, started the drawings for that section and only got to like 30% completion, and it was kind of abandoned. So to get this completed, Fuss and O'Neill is saying, here's what it would cost for us to pick up at that 30% mark, carry the ball across the goal line to 100% for design and for engineering, design and easement services, which is what they did here at the Parsons Hills project. So the money that this cost, $90,200, is design and easement and the bid and construction and administrative services during the course of construction.
That'll get 100% ready for bid.
Right, we can't do, yes, correct. Without that final design, we're not gonna be able to put it out to bid. At least not under what V-Trans requirements are. And so the bid, the grant, I think it was $75,000. We pay 75, they pay 75, 150 total, plus whatever the engineering services would be to get it put out to bid and to administer those services while it's under construction.
But we're not gonna get that built for 150. So the grant is 75, period.
Correct. So we get 75 from the small-scale bike and ped grant. Now, this was already been discussed at a previous meeting. There was money in ARPA set aside for this as well. I don't have it off the top of my head. I apologize, but.
I do. I carry ARPA with me. But you keep changing it, so I have to make sure I have.
I got it here somewhere.
Because we had a long discussion about this at a previous select board meeting, about the $1.2 million large-scale project and how that was gonna get funded, and the South Street one, and the Parsons Hills, and we looked at all the monies that we had set aside for sidewalks and the ARPA funds, and that's how we would get it across the finish line.
We have obligated $115,000 for this project already, out of ARPA money.
And we'll get 75, so that gives us 185. And then we take our 90 out of that for the Fuss and O'Neill.
That's gonna be above, you can't take, how do I word this? Under the grant, engineering services are not covered. So that's why,
Okay.
like this one here, we had to pay for the engineering services out of our pocket.
So the 90 comes out of our pocket.
And out of
Well, it
the
comes
mon-
out of the reserve account for sidewalks.
Right. There's one that was like 172 in one account, and God, I forgot off the top of my head what that was, plus that. When we added it all together and we looked at what our share, our town share would be of the large-scale project and the 250% town shares of the other projects, we determined that we would have enough money by the time that large-scale would be built, because we put $45,000 a year into the sidewalk reserve. So, but we know that wasn't gonna be built within about 3 years, 4 years. So we calculated all those numbers up and said, yes, we would have the money to get it across the finish line.
So you're recommending that we contract with Fuss and Nail to do the engineering on this project?
You put me on the spot.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
I know. I think it's a lot of money, but I question if we're gonna do the big project and we don't do this one, we're gonna have a stretch of sidewalk that's heavily used from the university down to Main Street that looks like it does. So I think it'd be kind of be a shame not to do that, even though I think it's a lot of money.
This paved section that's there, that exists now, is that ADA compliant?
I would highly doubt it at this point.
As do I.
In the wintertime, the students are in the road.
Yeah,
There.
and we can't really plow it effectively because it's like this.
I know it's a lot of money, but I think it was a good project when it was first brought up, and I think it's a good project now. You know, I look at the difference between our town and some of our neighboring towns that maybe pay lower tax than we do, but don't have the same level of infrastructure. And I'd rather live here. I think we need to protect the integrity of our community, and this is a good way to do it.
I did ask Wilt Paving about paving that, repaving it rather than concrete, and I mean, it would be a lot cheaper, but it's not gonna get the durability and the longevity out of it that we would if it was concrete. And it wouldn't even match up to what all the $1.2 million that we're gonna put into the village area for sidewalks and lighting and all, whatever, or curbing and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's a lot of money, but I think as you've sat on the select board now for a while, this stuff is really expensive. I mean, you look at what price of paving is, and concrete's even more expensive than, wait till you get the quotes for the salt and sand shed, the poured concrete footings and walls on that. It's majority of the project is taken up by concrete.
Well, two things that have been in construction for decades, and two things I've noticed are doors never sag up and prices never go down.
So I would ask the board to consider this, and let's finish something that we started, and it really is it's aesthetically better. People, when they come to town, it doesn't look like we abandon stuff either.
Okay, here's the part where I shut up and I listen to what the board's pleasure is. If I get a motion, we'll proceed. If I don't, we'll let it die right here. What's your pleasure, board?
I would make a motion that we contract with Fuss and O'Neill for the amount of $90,200 for design and easement services and bid and construction administrative services for the sidewalk on the east side of South Street from the Science Building to Main Street. And that we complete that sidewalk project at the end, that it isn't just, we don't want to spend this $90,000 if we're not committed to finish the project. Seems like that happens sometimes, you know, you get part way in and then looks like a lot. It is a lot, but I think this is a project that we should finish. Did I contaminate the motion by talking on and on?
You might have dragged it out a bit long, but I don't think you contaminated it. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second it. I can do that, right? Any more discussion?
I'm not sure how I feel about sidewalks. I'm still pretty bitter about the one in front of my house, so I'm not sure I can be constructive on this one and be non-biased.
I get that you lost some accessibility on your sidewalk, and I would feel the same way. But I think you see the use that that gets.
I don't know if it's any more than it was before.
No. I see it as a
There's
tremendous.
a lot of water issues from where the sidewalk's higher than it used to be. And just like this one, there's other issues, just like Parsons Hill. So, I don't know. It's a lot of money. I would have liked to have seen that one done first before we did all these. I think the village probably warranted sidewalks before everywhere else. But that's past board, not this board, so.
Well, the problem we had there is there was significant pushback from people in the village when we first started doing sidewalks. So we got done what we could do. And now the pushback is either gone or much less.
Or they're supportive of it now,
Yeah.
a couple of them.
Whereas there was some people that were quite adamant that they didn't want sidewalks in the village.
I think a lot of people had this dream that the village of Castleton was gonna be this very historic colonial Williamsburg sort of setting. But, you know, if you don't keep up with the services, I think the town's either improving or it's going the other way. Things never stay the same. You know, as soon as you build something, it starts to deteriorate. And I think that, you know, sidewalks and streetlights are an important part of maintaining the kind of community that people want to live in and stay in. And, you know, Castleton, like all small towns, you know, Castleton is caught between becoming a retirement place. How do we continue to attract families to live here and maintain a viable, safe place to live? And I think that sidewalks are an important part of that.
Can I?
One piece of the puzzle.
Last comment, then I'm gonna call the question.
Okay, the sidewalks themselves, as controversial as they are for some, have been I've seen a lot of people out walking, and if you talk to those, originally Mary McIntyre was very vocal on this and would talk to people, and to be able to walk on a flat, smooth surface that's not mud or slippery, or especially if you look at some of the age groups of who's walking on those right now, there's a lot of folks that are getting longer in the tooth, that have a safe place to walk, that we can maintain. It's hard to maintain the dirt paths, and so there's a benefit for both recreation, people get out and walking in a safe environment, getting access to businesses and stores, and not have to walk in the road. Because that seems to be the big theme along from Parsons Hills to Castleton Corners that got our attention, was we had people with mobility devices, wheelchairs in the road, and if you walk on drive South Street during the winter, you'll see people walking in the road because it's better maintained than the sidewalk area. So that'd be my pitch.
Comments from the board?
I find this too expensive for what you're gonna get.
Anything from you, Warrup?
No, no, I'm good.
All right, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
I'll go with I, only because I think if we're gonna do the big project, then it might as well get done too, because it's gonna be stupid without it, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, you have three choices. Are you voting aye, nay, or are you
I'll go
abstaining?
I, if we're gonna do the one in town, right? Our plan is to do the one in town, then we have to do the one to the college, because it would be stupid to leave it blank. So if we're gonna do the big one, then I guess I have to vote aye.
And the vote is 3-1. Motion carries.
And I want to say publicly, thanks, Rob, because I know that you personally have some issues with that sidewalk project, because I was there with you, so I know. So thank you.
That's the one we learned to knock on all the doors. We learned a lot on that first one.
In Hydeville, we see a lot of kids on bicycles and parents with little kids on bikes on the sidewalk. In Castleton, I see them out behind the Catholic Church teaching their kids to ride, and I think it's going to be nice when the sidewalks are available for younger families.
We still have the issue of how we're going to pay for it all, but we'll have to do more homework on that.
Better set up some coin drops.
Well, 45,000.
Two places.
Two of them.
Okay, we're going to move on. ARPA obligation discussion. Did everyone bring their ARPA worksheets?
I did not.
Okay. Well, we have obligated, I'm bringing this up again because we're going to have to make some decisions before the end of the calendar year. We have obligated a total of $1,026,000 out of a total of 1.343?
Right.
1.3, well, hang on.
3.7 something, almost 8.
So we still have $322,827 that has been earmarked but has not been obligated. So I need you to dust off your sheets. You should have the current sheets. They're dated 9/22, right? That's the most current one? And be prepared between now and the end of the calendar year to make some decisions. Part of those are going to be, we're going to have to talk about the salt and sand shed. We're going to do that during the manager's report. So that'll be part of this discussion. I believe the 32,250 has already been, needs to get moved from proposed to earmarked.
Correct.
So that number will go down. The good news is, there's a total of 39,000 and change that has been earned in interest, which does not have those same strings attached. Right now, the town manager has proposed to spend some of that on various things in infrastructure for the town, but that hasn't been obligated, nor does it have to be obligated by the end of this fiscal year.
The interest is exempt from that requirement.
Correct. That's my understanding. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, and there will be more interest accrued over the course of the next year. So there are going to be some funds that we still have that we can use to benefit the public that don't have these strings attached. So I need you guys to do your homework and take a look at this. You still have a copy of this, right, Rob?
Yeah.
And you have one too, Mark.
I do.
And I'll make sure Bob's aware that we need to review this and make some decisions. And we need to do that fairly soon. I would say probably we should have it pretty well nailed down by the end of November. That gives us a month to dot the i's and cross the t's.
Yeah, I think the salt and sand shed is a big one that we're waiting on.
That's going to be a big one, and we'll talk about that during the town manager's report, which is the next item on the agenda. So, Mike, you're up, unless somebody else wants to, anything more on ARPA before we move on?
I think there's a copy of this in the blue folder for signature. I'm not sure who you want to sign it, if you want. And because the motion didn't have me sign it, so.
Are we okay with me signing it? Or do we want to have a motion to have Mike sign it?
You can sign it.
I don't think it matters, does it?
They don't care, because of Mickey Mouse on there.
He doesn't work for us. He probably has the money to build
No,
a
he does,
site.
he does.
He's been accused of it.
Okay, Mike, you're up.
Okay. Again, my apologies, you didn't get this in time to read it over. So I won't go into a lot of detail, just some of the highlights. One thing I do want to say, it's not in here, it was brought to my attention on Thursday. One of the banks that we use, there's an allegation, and I haven't read it personally, so this is what the accountant's telling me, has pled guilty to some kind of fraud, or they're laundering money and have to do with drug cartels, so you know what I'm talking about? So we have $2 million in that bank. So I say we, no mouse in my pocket, it's the accountant. I asked him to find out what we can do with other banks, because when FDIC only insures something like $880,000 and you put $4 million in something, it's riskier. But, so we've reached out to our other bank and said, if we need to move money quickly to get it out of one bank to another, can you accommodate us? And the answer is yes, right? But that may not be the long-term strategy, putting all of our eggs in one basket, because we were earning some pretty good interest on this. That's what the ARPA, the interest that came out of this was, Nancy Trudeau had moved money there, and we were earning pretty good clip on a monthly basis.
Where's there? What bank?
Do I have to really say that right now? Because I'm,
It's in the news, it's
Okay.
public information.
so we have two banks. We use M&T and TD.
Yeah, which one is it?
I can't remember.
M&T.
M&T, right? Yeah.
TD.
M&T is the, M&T is the one we called. TD is the one that is where the money is that we might have to move. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. But regardless, if I misspeak, we'll have a correction to that, but, and Mark's looking it up, but, so anyway, we've reached out to the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns, and, because there's other, probably, people that use that bank, so we want to get some, legal advice from them, and kind of gather information and figure out what to come back to the select board with.
It is TD,
TD is the one that's, yes,
pled guilty,
it's like $3 billion fines.
$3 billion fine they're gonna pay.
Whoops.
Yeah, you think your sidewalk's expensive.
Here, take care of our sidewalks.
So anyway, it just so happens that we bank with them, and we're doing our due diligence to find out what our. Is that a kid coming from the police department?
Been a rough day for
Yeah, I
me.
guess so. So anyway, I just want to bring it to your attention, and we're working on solutions. Any questions? Anything you want to bring up that I should,
So what's our exposure at this point?
like $2 million?
It could just vanish?
Well, I mean, banks go bankrupt, but I'm not sure when we have 2 million and they're only FDI insured on a certain amount, there's some exposure there. So we're just exploring this thing to see what we can do.
Jump on the wagon, get your money before everybody else does.
Yeah, bury it in the backyard.
I see we get some mason jars, we're gonna have to do that probably.
Probably your safest
Well,
bet.
you
Put
can
some- put the
do,
gold up on Birdseye.
you can do an electronic transfer very quickly.
Yeah, well, that's why we reached out to the bank already and said, if we get word of something, then we have to move quickly, then the treasurer, and unfortunately, I love it when the treasurer, who's an elected official, gets along with the select board who are elected officials. Because in the past, I had, like, the treasurer wanted to do something, and the select board said no, and the treasurer said, I don't need your damn permission anyway. So, it's just, I'm like, let's just get along, let's do what's right for the town, and protect our interests, so.
It doesn't really seem smart to have deposits that exceed the FDIC insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, that's not being a very good steward of public money.
It's whether, what banks what we can use. I know Nancy was looking at, when she was the treasurer, was looking at where we could make the most amount of money and what risks are, but, more to follow. I'll come back to you with, what our options are, and, try to do what we can to protect our interests. So that wasn't in the report, but I just wanted to bring it up. I'm not sure if there's anything in particular that's burning questions, but, the salt and sand shed, so I'm on page 2.
Yeah, we
of
want to
the-
talk about that. That was the one thing I wanted to bring up.
So on page 2 of the report, that's the TAP grant. I think it's out of reach, to be quite honest, because of the timeline out to 2027. It pushes us past the date that ARPA has to be expended. So it's almost like a non-starter at this point. So bids went out. We solicited bids, RFP went out. I've received 2 phone calls from contractors just trying to get clarification on what was in the bid packet. Like, yes, you want 8-foot walls or 6-foot walls? Do you want these to be reinforced as push walls, or are you gonna line it with blocks? And we looked at the blocks, the price of blocks. It's just make the walls reinforced as push walls. It's cheaper. Some people had questions about the color, that's another, so we picked gray or green is what we're looking at. So we're at a point where the 23rd or 24th, I can't remember, 23rd or 24th is when the bids are due back to us, so I can have them for the next select board meeting. So you'll have some numbers to start contemplating. But if we only build the salt shed, and we don't build a second building or a large one to put both in there, I'm confident that we have the money, our own money, to build it and be done. No grant issues, no having to work through all their requirements. It would be on our own. We hire a contractor, we have a project manager, and we do it ourselves,
So is that what we're getting bids for, or are you getting bids to go through the TAP grant right now?
by ourselves.
Okay.
Well, we could do either.
And this
but
is for a salt shed or salt and sand?
Just for a salt shed. The cost, once we see the cost, you can, you'll understand, I guess, probably why it can only be one right now. We're probably looking at $400 and something thousand, I'll imagine. That's all said.
I think we all recall that we gave Mike the direction to look for bids for just a salt shed 1 or 2 meetings ago. And so that's what he's doing.
If they're gonna switch to that small stone,
It's less,
that shouldn't freeze.
water should go, flow through that a lot quicker. But, and so we did our, Jeff did his due diligence too, and he talked to other towns, he talked to V-Trans, and there's a lot of towns that still don't cover their sand. They might tarp it, but they don't have a structure over the top of it. They run it through grizzly bars and get the chunks out of it, and but the salt is what we really want covered. So this gets us, I guess, halfway to what was originally thought about, was building a salt and sand shed. But with the grant, we have to wait 1 year. We have to 1 year to go through the environmental stuff. Then you got to apply for the grant, and it comes out in November. You won't know till the following spring. By the time all that happens, it puts the construction into 2027, and ARPA funds have to be expended by the end of '26. So it really kind of pushes us out the door. So no matter, even if we had a pocket full of money, if we wanted to use that 300,000 from the grant, unless it's built by the end of, 26, we couldn't complement it with our ARPA to push us across.
When does the lease run out of the facility we're currently using? Wasn't that
Next year?
June of '26?
Yeah.
Can
So,
we
Not
position
25,
the salt shed, so if at a later time we wanted to include sand, we could tack that on the end of it and access it from the other end, or is that not practical?
no, it's practical. That's something that we've been kicking around, is like, if we strategically place this thing where if we had to expand, we have the footprint to do so. That's not, that doesn't go against the 3 acres impervious surface stormwater mitigation. So whatever we do, if we're gonna plan for the future, all that has to be taken into consideration for that stormwater mitigation plan, and which we'll do. So that we don't all of a sudden go, look at this money and this grant, and, oh, shoot, we don't have any place to
If we
put it now.
can't do anything with
Yeah,
it.
so that's all been discussed, and that will be part of our
Because the
thought
town
process.
gets a grant for that, for the engineering.
Yes, yes. So with that TAP grant, the 300,000, with a 20% match, the most we could get extra from grants would be 200,000. And that's not a given. It's highly likely because they already gave us the 300,000, so they want you to complete the project. But if they said no, then all of a sudden we're like, okay, now we don't have the money to do it. And who knows what's gonna happen with the finances, is that 200,000 and the extra, it's an extra add-on program. Is that gonna be available 2 or 3 years from now? I don't know. I'm not gonna,
Yeah, if you can't rely on it, then it shouldn't gamble with it.
it'd be like the sidewalks, right? All of a sudden you're like, oh, shoot, we can't do we got $1.2 million, but now we can't do the project. So, on the 24th, we'll get the packets, I'll get it before the select board, and I think it will probably be glaringly apparent, like, the best course of action to follow because of money particularly, and the timeline of ARPA sunsetting.
At this point, we're not committed to anything, but we'll have decisions, we'll have options, which we don't have right now. Anything else on the salt shed?
No, unless there's any questions about, I mean, this is gonna be a, metal roof, metal sides, 8 or 6 foot push wall, reinforced push walls. And the bottom of it would be asphalt, not concrete. Easier to, cheaper and more inexpensive to repair, replace, and because salt's there's degradation of the concrete too. So most people now that we've talked to are using either no bottom or asphalt. So, okay, any more questions on that one?
I think everyone on the board is aware that we do not own the facility we're using now.
Yeah.
And I did receive a phone call back from the owner about that, buying it for $20,000 and keeping it for 20 years, but having to sell it back to his heirs and assigns at that point. And he is gonna fix it. His plan was to raise the roof, replace everything, put a door on it that's a roll-up door. But I'm like, it's just, when something sounds too good to be true, maybe it is, I don't know. But that was what we proposed, but then we're still trucking the stuff.
What if they sell the property? How does that work out?
Well, so it goes to his heirs and assigns, right? So if they sign some kind of lease with us, they probably have to be obligated to the lease, but does it solve our problem? We're still putting stuff on off-site and trucking it,
It's like 3 miles away.
yeah.
And how does it get loaded?
We drive our
We have to
loader
bring
down
a
there,
loader
load it
over.
in our trucks and truck it down,
Yeah.
and that would go away.
So then the loader's not really available for any other purpose during the wintertime?
Yeah, it stays pretty much with the salt and idle sometimes endlessly. So, yeah, during the winter, that thing is pretty much tagged and up at the salt shed. It's up on the one on Stasel Road, that little salt shed. We bring it over to Route 4A when we have to bring more over to restock the little
On
salt
a
shed.
transfer salt, they spend the day doing that.
Oh, okay.
Because that salt shed up on Stasel Road can't hold any real volume. So-
Right.
So we drive
Trucking it back and forth.
we drive our loader down to Ruby's, load salt for a day, and then take it and dump it up at the at the Stasel Road facility, and then drive the loader back to Stasel Road.
And we kind of
And that
destroyed his
happens at
property up
least-
there too.
At least several times a year or several times a month.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's, because I forgot how many cubic yards that holds, but it's not very much. I mean, it's like enough for a couple storms, and you gotta keep replenishing it, so.
And it does snow here in the winter sometimes.
The amount of salt that's been spilled outside on Ruby's property, that place turns into a mud pit
I'll
during the
bet.
winter.
Anything else on the manager's report?
You know about the police car that was received? Everybody knows that one, the new Interceptor, is in service.
Was it Austin Grassics 2 weeks ago? So it's in service now, correct?
It is in service, yeah. It's been, Ed Hayes is one of the assigned to it.
Does that loader stay inside in the wintertime?
In the garage, over the pit usually.
And it gets washed?
Yeah, that's one thing that they've been good at, is keeping the salt off that damn thing, because it's always in salt.
That's a new loader too, or relatively new.
I think there's.
Status on the ladder truck for the fire department?
No change from the last, was they're waiting for the off-gassing of the paint to put the decals on it. So that was supposed to be 2 weeks, so we're at that point right now that we should be hearing that come pick it up, folks.
Then we have to arrange training before we can put it in service.
So they did get the passive, I had applied for a passive scholarship for their training. So that was awarded, so they'll have their, they have a little bit of out-of-pocket cost, but the company will come in and do training with the members to, both on operation and maintenance and placement and all that good stuff. So they'll be they usually do it at the university. That's what we did last time, was at the university, since that's where it's mostly would be used. So, but yeah, so that's good news that they'll have the training before it gets put in service. I'm not sure if you're aware, I talked to Chris Freda and to Heath about marketing the old ladder truck, and they've got a Maxim group that somebody's interested in it because it's allegedly
The last one in service.
the last
Yeah.
the last Maxim ladder in service. There's allegedly, again, there's one Maxim tanker out there and there's a Maxim ladder. This one are the ones that are still in service. So it makes it a little bit more marketable, or people want it because it's actually been tested and everything works, and it's in, because it's been in service. So they're working on with that group to try to find a seller.
You know, the old stick that was in service when you and I joined the department, Mark, went to a collector.
What did?
The old one, the old ladder truck, the one with the open cab,
I'm still sore over engine 3 and 4.
let's not get
Those should
into
have
that.
still been in service.
Let's not get into that.
So the camera systems for security, which I think is becoming more and more important as we have more and more people in our facilities. So the cameras were installed at the wastewater and at the village school. I'm waiting for Royals to complete the hookup at the school so I can get the IP addresses so I can put it to my phone, and I have all this stuff on. That's what's been going off on my phone, is the garage cameras. And then the police department has a smaller hard drive that they have to clear off. Justin's working on it, so that one's gonna go down to the wastewater plant, and the new higher capacity one's gonna go in the police department. So they're just waiting on that, and then we should be up and running with all of our facilities minus the beach has security cameras.
For what it's worth, I think I told you, Mike, but the rest don't know. You've hollered at me enough to lock my car. My hands were full when I came in last time, and I did not lock my car right out here. And I got partway down the road and I said, I smell smoke. Somebody had been in my car smoking.
I'd sent a message to Heath, because Danny Ducharme has the access right now to this one, to look at the camera footage for that date to see if anybody did get in your car.
And, I mean, because mine's a non-smoking car, and it was
You know.
definitely smoke. It's my own blame, I didn't lock it. But in front of a police department? You
Yeah.
think you'd be safe?
People don't care where it is nowadays.
My car alarm went off in my driveway last week. I'd usually park it close to the house and there's a motion light. I had it parked closer to the road. And somebody must have tried to get in it. I had it locked and the alarm went off.
You don't know who's creeping through your backyards.
Yeah.
Continuing, I provided a list of names of those who have replied that would like to hook up to municipal sewer on Crystal Heights. There's no list here for Depot Terrace. It's still Coons. It's my fault I got a phone number to call. I know Christine gave it to me. They tried calling it. I don't remember if they got, I remember what that was, if they got a answer or a voicemail or what it was, but I haven't called it personally, so I had to call that one. But that's what the list is, and I provided the numbers in the report, how many yeses, how many nos, and who has not replied. We even got a yes from somebody on New Road.
Where's New Road?
It's right at the base of the, when you turn off from North Road to go up Crystal Heights, it's an immediate right.
Oh, okay.
There's 3 or 4 domiciles on that road, or at least 3.
But that's not part of the project.
No, but they want it to be. There's a note on page 8 for the sewer. Said I recommend the Board of Sewer Commissioners authorize me to contract with Aldrich and Elliott to conduct the necessary field work on Creek Road to extend the municipal sewer to Woodard Marine and to the homes between where the municipal sewer currently stops and Woodard Marine. I recommend the funds needed to complete the field work and design the system on Creek Road come from the sewer reserve and not from the operating budget. If there's money left over from the operating budget, it goes into the reserve. It goes into the unobligated, unassigned stuff. But I don't know what it's gonna be. I need a quote from Aldrich and Elliott. But I'd like to, it's another one of those things that can's been kicked down the road, and at least if we had the number, we can say, no, maybe not, but to answer the question to the people that were asking, like Woodard's Marine, we haven't done anything to get any numbers yet. And the only way to do that is like they did on Depot Terrace and on Crystal Heights, was they have to do the field work to come down to see what's viable, what they can do. Does it have to be can it be gravity? Does it have to be a forced main? Is there water tables here? Is there something that precludes them from going from point A to point B? We won't know that until we hire them to do it.
So what you're asking for is the authorization to get a quote?
Yeah, I don't want to go and waste their time if you guys weren't serious about, getting something from them. Because that's what Wayne Elliott told me. He said, Mike, you guys have been kicking this can down the road.
I want to be clear, you're not asking for authorization to do the engineering, you're asking for the authorization to get a quote to do the engineering.
Correct. You wanted me to move forward with it, to get those steps done.
I think we should get a quote to find out what it's gonna cost to do the study. That won't cost us anything to do, correct?
No.
Now, how many residents besides Woodard's will be included?
We counted them area, off the top of my head, I don't remember, I think it's like 5 or 6. And some of them are owned by Woodard's, the houses that are there are owned by them, so they were agreeable that
Yeah, 'cause
they'd be
they got-
cost sharing it.
They got 3 in a row, I think,
Yeah.
down there.
So- But if I go out and to ask them to give me a quote and what it would take to do that, they'll give me that quote, and then you'll decide whether you want to pay that money to have the study done or not, or the field work done.
I think you should get a quote.
Any opposition to him getting a quote?
Not if it doesn't cost us anything.
It's just my time, that's all.
Are they gonna get sick of giving us quotes and we don't do anything after we get them?
There's always that potential, Rob.
So far, every time they've given us a quote, we've proceeded. So they don't have that taste in their mouth yet.
No, Wayne is, this is not the first time that these Crystal Heights has come up, and it's the first time for Depot Terrace, but not for Crystal Heights and Woodard's Marine, so. Or I should say Creek Road, not Woodard's Marine. But anyway, so if that's the case, I'll solicit a quote for the field, or a proposal quote for the field work and what it would cost.
I'm not opposed.
Guess there's no harm in being armed with information, I guess.
Anything else, Mike?
I think this one's something that will be my last one. The board had made mention at one point about protecting or moving the generator out of the trailer down at the main pump station. So I've been talking with Jeff and with Russ. What Russ would like to do is, instead of taking the generator out of the trailer, is to put the pad there, like we're going to, put the fence around it, but leave it in the trailer, secured behind the fence, so that we can move it if we ever needed to. If we ever did get flooding down there, we can hook onto it and get it the hell out of there. Because he talked to Brookfield, and Brookfield said, well, we can work on it in the trailer. Our concern is that if it starts with the door shut, that you could burn it up, the trailer, or, it's not gonna run after a certain amount of time, it's gonna choke itself out. But they're worried about fires, that's what they were worried about. So Russ said, well, if it's behind the fence, or enclosed behind the fence, we can keep the doors open. And it would be tied to the building so that, it would, it wouldn't be like a standalone four-sided fence. Part of it would be tied to the building. Because they've looked at it, and so I brought some stuff the other day about pitch. I said, you can't back up to something if you got a steep angle, it's gonna be really hard. So they're working through all that logistics, but, Russ really would like to keep it in the trailer, locked behind a fence, so we can still move it if we ever had to.
Why would we want to move it?
Guess if it was high water down there or something, we got it out of there. We might, the pump station might get some water in it, but we can at least move the thing out of there, or if it's needed somewhere else. If we put it on a pad and put it or in a fence, I guess all he's asking is, instead of taking it out of the trailer and putting it on a pad with a fence around it, is to put it on the pad with the trailer on the pad, and he said, plus it won't sink in the ground. He goes, last time when they moved it from where you saw it to the other side, the thing was sunk down in the ground.
That's a lot of
too.
weight there.
It's on wheels, not a concrete pad, that's a whole different animal.
Yeah. So
I'm not too worried about it flooding there. It didn't flood during Irene. The river was several feet at least below that level. Irene didn't get into that cornfield that's adjacent to there.
that's what's gonna happen. The low ground is the cornfield, so it'd have to take a lot, it'd take a lot to get it to
Never
rise.
Irene had never gotten a cornfield.
No. But I've seen that cornfield flooded before, though. But it didn't go back up to the pump station. It's six one half dozen to me, or 6 1/2 dozen to me, I don't care. Russ just said he'd rather keep it in the trailer. Brookfield can service it, we'll put it behind the fence, and we can drag it out of there if we ever needed to.
Well, come up with a plan and let us know what you want to do.
Right.
I really think there should be louvers put in the front of that trailer. I just don't see how that thing is ever gonna cool.
I guess I'm not opposed to leaving it in the trailer as long as the trailer can accommodate the generator. Right now, it's an accident waiting to happen.
But I don't know, but Brookfield said they could work on it. That was my concern, that we're gonna have, somebody can't get in there to service the damn thing. But if it's behind the fence, the doors would be left open, so it would be getting air. But if your concern is that you'd like to see louvers in addition to the doors being open, then I'll just talk to them about that too.
Well, if the doors are open, air can come in but can't get out. You still got,
Well, how many doors, was there 2 doors?
Got a
on that?
rear door and a side door, I believe, on that.
oh, there is a side door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what.
I was thinking there was just doors in the back and,
No, I believe there's a side door up towards
Come
the
up with your
front.
options and your recommendation, and we'll go from there, Mike.
Right, okay. And that would be,
I'm not emotionally attached to moving it or not moving it. I just want to make sure whatever we do is a long-term fix.
right. So if there's any questions you see in there, let me know and I can seek out answers.
Questions for Mike before we move on?
Nope.
Just move on to purchase orders.
Hey, sorry, Mr. Chairman, did you see that I put the copy of email from Martha and their bylaws stuff? I put it in everybody's mailbox, so you have a copy of it.
Do you think that needs to be on the agenda before we approve it?
Probably.
I would
should
think
be
so.
probably.
Yeah,
So don't lose your copy, keep it for next meeting and put it on the agenda, please.
I will do that.
The good news is the rec commission had no significant changes,
Yeah, they were fairly happy.
so they're good with it, we're good with it, so it shouldn't be a big deal, but it should be on the agenda. So I have 2 purchase orders, Mike, does that sound right?
There was 3 in there, but I think only one you had to sign was the one from Parson O'Neill, the South Street Sidewalk Consulting.
So that's the only one that we need to?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
everything else was in my spending limit authority.
Okay, so the only one we want is,
Parson O'Neill,
yes.
there's those 2 back then. All set?
I'm ready when you are.
I would make a motion to approve purchase order number 052878 to Fuss and O'Neill for the sum of $2,154.80 for South Street Sidewalk Consulting and completing the design started in 2010.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Just, if you notice this time, you should have had your purchase orders in front of the warrants.
Yes, I saw that.
I remember you saying something about.
Well, it's been that way for years. All of a sudden, it wasn't that way anymore, and it's
Yeah.
just more convenient. It's not a big deal, but it's more convenient.
I just need
All
to
right, so now we can move on to warrants. Do you do the honors, Rob?
Yep. I would make a motion to approve warrant number 0104A for the sum of $2,000. Warrant number 1014R for the sum of $700. Warrant number 0925 for the sum of $560. Warrant number 1011 for the sum of $41,056.59. Warrant number 1014 for the sum of $415,371. Warrant number 0926P for the sum of $20,311.68. Warrant number 1003P for the sum of $20,258.93. And warrant number 1010P for the sum of $20,002.42.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah. The first number, did he read the first number right or wrong?
He's 01, he started with 0. That was what I was gonna say too.
I'm sitting here looking at it, trying to find it.
It was just the first one.
I will amend my motion for warrant, the first warrant to be read as 1014A for the sum of $2,000.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Dick, you signed this one where I was supposed to.
Did I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What do you want me to do? Just put an arrow?
Yeah. Just to slip back to my old spot. I signed them in the other spot for 10 years. So when they come back to you, Mark, we are looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're looking for 8 warrants when you get them, Mark.
Okay.
Well, one thing I forgot to tell everyone is that I hired Karen's replacement.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about that.
So Hannah Whittemore, who lives down near O'Reilly's, it's near you, I believe, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
So she starts on the 28th of this month.
Nice.
And we're down to 1 operator at the transfer station.
You can't find anybody?
Didn't apply at all. Well, we'll talk later, I guess, about that one.
Yeah, we're gonna have a discussion, hopefully a short discussion, but a discussion about that in executive session.
Meet in the middle.
Yep.
I printed out some stuff for that. I printed out stuff for that. I thought it was in the packet, or in my pile of stuff.
For the discussion you and I had earlier,
Yeah.
I didn't see anything.
I'm gonna run up my car and finish the signing. You know what? Yeah, drop one crayon.
Tried 3M weather strip removal.
I haven't, no.
I don't know, maybe that is just acetone, but
I don't know what the active ingredient is in that.
Contractor solver.
Mhm.
Takes a lot of diesel stuff.
I just got frustrated and I put some 60 grit on the sandpaper and went through it.
Doesn't that take the finish off the aluminum too?
It sure did, yep, but that's where our frustration level was at that day, so.
Let's get it done, right?
Yep.
I can hear now.
I've never run out of patience like that, ever. Today. All right, so we should wait for Mike, but let's not. Mark, do you have any select board comments or concerns that Mike does not need to know about?
I have none.
Any that he does need to know about?
Nope.
Mary Lee?
No.
A
Rob?
rare moment of contentment.
Rob?
I just wanted to say that I think the select board, or the recreation commission, and those guys are doing good down there.
I think there's a lot of effort being put in, and
It's
I think it's
definitely
paying
stepped
off.
up since our last meeting. I think they've done pretty well.
I'm pretty happy with the amount of effort that's getting put in down there by all concerned. The
And
Friends of Rec, the rec director, the rec commission.
Since we talked when John was here and I got thinking about it afterward, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to contact Roy and maybe just have him see if he wanted to take some pictures when those guys were playing cornhole or whatever and put it in there, because maybe if somebody was flipping through and saw it, not necessarily have to put an advertisement, but
Yeah.
it might not be a good thing, because he does like to go around and take pictures of stuff happening in the community, so.
Especially kids' stuff.
If I run into him, I'll mention something to him, but
Yeah, they're really headed in the right direction now.
that's all I had.
Okay, well, I just wanted to bring up so everyone is aware, the budget process is starting. Mike and I talked about it briefly today. There's gonna be some fixed costs that we can't control that are increasing, health insurance benefits, wages. You know, we have a contract with ASME and with NEPBA that, we're committed to. So those wages are going to go up in the next next fiscal year, as well as health insurance, and some of the other insurance costs are going up. So Mike and I talked about it briefly, and what we decided to do, if you guys are agreeable, is he's gonna do a spreadsheet with those costs included, just to establish a benchmark. It won't be anything along a proposal from his point of view, but at least we know where we have to start from.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts or opinions beyond that at this
Sooner the
point.
better.
Pardon?
Sooner the better. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, well, we have to have a budget firmed up by the early January,
January.
but it's usually not a quick process, so the more we can do to help him with guidance. I don't know if anyone has had any thoughts on what they think the increase should be for the overall budget, bottom line. Because we don't know what those expected increases that we're committed to are gonna, what the impact that's gonna have yet. So Mike's
Health
gonna,
insurance is 20%,
Yeah, ours went up 15.
15.
the good news is that's not all the budget, but, you know, payroll is half the budget. Or just about half, right? I mean, we went through it once. You know, payroll and benefits is just about half our municipal budget. So he's gonna do that, and then we can start with that and see where we have to go from there, because we know we've got things that we have to address. Nothing costs less than it did last year.
Does not.
So my goal would be to have it by the next meeting, by the 28th. Just to have, so you can see what that net increase percentage increase would be in dollar amount, just for those things that we know are, we have to pay.
You know, we have to pay the help, we have to provide insurance, we have to pay for the, the liability insurance through, VLCT, et cetera. There's certain things that we
Don't
have
any
to do.
choice on, yeah.
And, so that's all I have for select board comments. So anything else? If not, we're gonna move on. Anything we need to go follow up on? The only action item that I'm remembering is that we all have our ARPA homework to do. And we need to be ready to start making decisions on that soon, because we need to have that finalized by the end of November, I would think. And that's all I've got. Anything else before we go to executive session? I need a motion for executive session for personnel.
Would make a motion to go into executive session for personnel at 9:02.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. This is with the executive session with the board and the town manager. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.